I'm Sabine Sadiq. I'm a stand-up comedian, actor, writer from Chicago. I grew up in the suburbs in Clarendon Hills and then moved throughout the city for a while after college. I would describe myself as Muslim American, I guess. That's kind of, it's always just been a big part of my life, whereas my ethnic side has not been. I mean, maybe like food-wise or language-wise, yeah, like I'm Pakistani, but I feel more connected to being Muslim and spiritual.
I see myself like being born, okay, when I was born and I grew up, I went to school and I got accepted to the university. And then I feel like I was born again when I returned back from the United States because I was totally a different person. I discovered a lot of things that I didn't know that I have it.
I mean, ever since I could remember, I was interested in art. But something that really made me focus on it and think deeply about it was when my father, he used to travel a lot. And he used to travel to Holland a lot. So every time he used to come back, he used to bring like pictures and calendars and diaries of like from there. And those diaries and calendars, they always had like a theme, and they always had a theme on an artist. So that's how I was introduced to European artists. And it was just fascinating. I learned a lot just by looking at those calendars and diaries. So that was like giving fuel to my passion.
I actually went back to Syria the first week into the revolution. And I was living in Qatar at the time. And I went back on my spring break. I was doing an intensive Arabic program there. And I went back. It was mid-March of 2011. And I was really nervous because, obviously the revolution started in Syria. And so when I got to Damascus, it felt really different, those 2 weeks that I was there. But unfortunately, that would probably be the last time I go back to Syria for hopefully just a while, not for the rest of my life, though.
I would say my journey began in New York City. New York is such a rich and incredible place. But for me, it started in the house. And as a first generation Guinean woman, that was at the forefront of who I was kind of navigating. And I always say I learned history lessons before fun facts. And it was my mother constantly sharing stories of her upbringing, what it was like growing up, really taking us back to Guinea and really allowing us to understand the opportunity that we had in front of us. And then you're thrown into New York City and you're in the mix of things. And by the time I was 12 years old, I grew to 5'11" in like one summer. So I was really, really tall, and opportunities opened up for me to play sport. But again, I'm so thankful for that base and that foundation I had outside of sport as a person and knowing my roots that allowed me to then navigate through sports with everything that I had, because this was an opportunity of a lifetime. That's what it felt like, and that's how I treated it. And I began playing basketball, and I loved the aspect of sisterhood. It was never about that competing or understanding the game, but it was about sisterhood and connecting with powerful women. And I realized that would lead me for the rest of my life, is connecting with incredible women like yourself.
That's what storytelling does. Like the fact that you may not know me very well, but you're able to sit there and listen to my narrative and lean in and give me the empathetic eyes because I'm just a human who is opening up. Like that's helpful, right? Because I feel seen in those eyes.
I am someone who has been fortunate enough to do lots of different things in many disciplines for the same purpose. So I do social impact work around gender-based violence and international human rights, mostly at the benefit of Black and brown women, but through law, policy, art, activism, wellness, and And so I created this art project that looked at what it would look like if survivors of gender-based violence could refashion themselves and reimagine themselves in the way that they really were, as opposed to the way that the world was telling them that they were. And that was my entree into art.
As I mentioned, I've always loved math. I was always really good with numbers, but I also had a love for technology from when I was young. My parents and family would always use me as their tech support, so I would always fix the phones or the printer in the house. And I always had the patience and I enjoyed it. And I was always very curious to how devices worked.
I definitely think that storytelling is a tradition that's been around since the beginning of time. And I think that the reason why we have storytelling is for character building and for stories that inspire that. So I see storytelling as a means of everyone getting together, kind of in the same way that we have fables and lessons. I feel like that was the history of the tradition itself, and I think that's what I see. I see people being vulnerable about their situations and wanting to share that with others. And I see people being receptive to the messages that are being conveyed.